guys, welcome back to Amma Does It. If you haven't subscribed yet, please go over to Amma Does It and do so. Always feel free to comment and like. I'm so super excited to hear from you guys. Here I am in my living room, which is my art studio, and I'm switching it from the last set to this one, my flower set. I was hired to make 8-foot flowers for a perfume company event in Beverly Hills last year, and I was able to hold on to a couple of them. So they're kind of sprinkled around my apartment, and I've been wanting to do shoots with them, and I finally conceptualized one where they're hovering over me, and I cut them down to size so they weren't so tall, so I could sit down and they were right above my head. And I decided that I wanted a black void behind me and below me, so I used a black piece of fabric and I built on top of that. So I'm just placing my paper flowers into the frame, and there was just a little earthquake. My chandelier was shaking, and I was like, oh my goodness, it was pretty big. It was loud and startled me. But I just kept going. It was okay. So just building. I'm making the pipe a little warm so I could bend it, because I wanted it to be a little bit more bent in a way that it looked better in the frame. Now I'm just fixing up all the petals because they were in a windy environment for the event, so some of the petals just became unattached to each other, so I had to go back in and just make them perfect. I handmade these paper butterflies that I'm placing around. A quick little detour. Here are these butterflies I handmade. I used crepe paper, Italian crepe paper, and I basically cut a template in the shape of the wings in 2 different sizes, smaller and larger, and I hand painted the patterns onto the butterflies how I imagined them to look. So here I am cutting the templates and then tracing the templates with the crepe paper, which is incredibly hard to cut. Crepe paper is hard, but it's so beautiful, and you can stretch that paper too. It's really a magical paper to use. And here they are, a little progress report, and there they are, all finished. I also wound up making some paper flowers to add to the set that were smaller. So we have the larger scale flowers and the smaller scale flowers. And here's everything just laid out. Banjo's hanging out with the set, as he loves to do. Okay, back to putting the set together. And I handmade smaller flowers, so there's just like different scales of flowers happening all around. Now I'm fixing all the leaves that are attached to the poppies. I have poppies here, and I have roses. And now I'm working with the rose petals and the leaves to attach those to the roses to add more texture to the set. This was really fun. I really enjoyed making these paper flowers for this client. I never did that before. Back in 2012, I was making bouquets of paper flowers, but actual real life-sized flowers, not 8-foot flowers that hover over your human person. So it was a really fun challenge to learn the craft. Setting up my camera, framing up everything, making sure I'm getting exactly what I want with the setup. So I move the flowers to be able to capture them in the right area. So this is about just going back and forth and back and forth. I don't have a monitor, So it's really just looking at the frame from my camera and pushing everything in and out and making sure that it looks good, so when it's about to be the time to photograph, everything is in its right place and I'm the only one moving around the set. So here I am just practicing, feeling out the actual set and the space that I have. And while I'm practicing, I'm actually recording this because I am in the middle of writing some silent films with a colleague friend of mine. And I was like, hey, let's practice like silent film gestures and facial expressions and see what I can do here within this little set. So I gave it a whirl and it was so much fun. I put it at the end of this video, so be sure to stay tuned to see my little black and white silent film version of this little practice round. And Banjo wanted to be part of it, so he laid right onto my stomach and I took a couple sample photos of us together in the set. I built this the day before, so I'm just in my regular soft clothes. And here is the next day. I wake up, I get into costume. I actually do a couple costumes for this. So I had a little flapper dress on with a pillbox hat. This pillbox hat is actually a sentimental piece in my wardrobe. It belongs to one of my best friends, Kati. She passed away during the pandemic and it was a really hard time for me, and one of her best friends from high school actually gifted me this hat. She felt as if I should have it, and I really have been waiting for a good little moment to wear it in my sets to bring her back to life and with me, and it felt so nice to have this hat on during this little set. I feel like it really went with the vibe. And yeah, so I'm taking little photos with Banjo because he's walked onto set, and I always just encourage that to happen and go with the flow. Now I'm in my second costume. I have these really interesting polka dotted pants that are patchwork silk, and there's also these blue peacocks sewn into them as well, and they're just so cool and interesting, and I've never worn them, so I decided maybe this is costume wear, which happens sometimes. I buy things I think they're for my real life and they turn into costumes. So they're now in my costume trunk, and it was really fun to wear them with this. They're super flowy, they move around. They have like a tent-like vibe, so I was playing with that really interesting part of it. I'm just moving around the set. I have a remote in my hand. That's the only way I can take my pictures. I actually have no idea what these pictures look like until I put them on my computer and look through them. And I honestly just hope that I get some good imagery, and I'm very patient. I take a lot of photos, and because I do that, I do wind up with some really good ones. So now I'm in a cozy house dress and I'm breaking down my set because I need my space to be functional again. And where that black cloth is between my living room and my kitchen. So I do need to walk between that space. Here's a little video, stop motion video of the photos I took. Enjoy! And here's the little silent film I put together with my practice. So much fun to do that with Banjo. Here are a few shots that I thought were probably the better of all of them. And me being a little goofball clown lady, which is my favorite thing to ever do. Thank you so much for stopping by. Amma Does It. Please subscribe, and thank you so much for joining me with all of my art and sets.